Now Jamara Ugle-Hagan kicks it long. It's got a lot of carry. That's something extraordinary.
Green. Oh! Way! We have liftoff. Toby Green.
Arms in the air. That has gone through. Jamie Elliott has won the game of footy for this famous club.
Hello, I'm Damian Barrett. Welcome to Access All Areas. We are here, as always, thanks to Crypto.com. Matthew Lloyd, you were at the MCG yesterday to celebrate your premiership of 22 years ago, but for the current Bombers, it was nothing but heartache.
It was, Damo. I thought the first quarter was all Collingwood, and after that, I thought it was Essendon by how far, in a sense, with all the momentum was with them. They were smashing them at clearance. Draper was all over the ruckman, but... yeah, then they got tight at the end when Collingwood came with a rush.
There were some genuine heroics here and some genuine mistakes that are made in the heat of the battle, but you can see the time, you can see what's at stake. The scores are 1 point the difference, and people stood up, people made mistakes. We'll pull it all apart in the next few moments, but ultimately, this is one of the great Collingwood wins of all time.
Yeah, we're just having a wonderful season. So Joe Howe makes that blunder there, and you'd think he kicks the ball there. Could have been a 50 potentially, but Jones would have had I don't know if he got any sleep last night, Harrison Jones. You just got to kick that from 40 metres out, and then we're going to watch this down the ground soon, but brilliant thinking by Collingwood. They've won tight ones now, 8 wins and 1 loss with matches decided by 2 kicks or less. They played it beautifully.
Lotto, this mark by Jamie Elliott is nearly as good as the cool kick that he was to, about 30 seconds later, do this way. From the point of where the 50-metre arc meets the boundary line, after the siren sounds for that ball to sail through, it's an iconic moment in an iconic club's history.
Well, he didn't even think about passing. He just went back, turned his back on everyone and said, I'm going to take this shot, I'm backing myself in. Just how calm and cool he was even afterwards. He felt like I was always going to kick that goal.
Yeah. Now, let's pull it apart. Let's dissect it. It's not going to be easy watching for anyone attached to the Essendon Football Club, Lordo. So, Harrison Jones, what you're about to see, behind the grounds, exclusively to AFL.com.au, has the kick. You can see it hit, as we look at it, the right goalpost. Now, what are you highlighting here?
So what I'm highlighting is in the goal square, there's Peter Wright, who's already got Darcy Moore in front of him. So that's a bad start. And to the left of that, we've got Ham and Bianco. So Ham's in a wonderful spot at the moment because you want to keep every Collingwood player in front of you and not let him get out the back of you.
And before we roll it, these other Essendon players more around the 50-metre line, what should they be doing in that? Again, heat of the moment, but what should they be doing?
Every player must have a man, so everyone must have one at that play, but everyone's got to start... Once you see which side the ball's going to go, Dame, you've got to squeeze to that side to get as many numbers there as possible. But the bad start is that Peter Wright is pretty much with the crowd, and he's going to let Pete Darcy Moore go, and there's already one player that's spat out.
And the one player that Essendon doesn't want to have the ball right now is the man who's about to pick it up in Scott Pendlebury, the best kick in the comp still in some people's eyes. He tells, from what we're being told, Darcy Moore to run to the left of screen, and he's an athlete, Lordo. He just takes off. And to your point, as we do roll it, Wright is already trailing him. Moore takes the mark from Pendlebury, where he's directed to go, and just takes off.
And now the issue, Ham has already let Bianco out the back, but then does nothing. He doesn't impact Bianco, and he also does nothing actually with the player coming with the footy.
And then you've highlighting here Cole Langford.
Cole, I'm not sure why he became it, because I thought it would have been like a Ridley, like a big defender back behind the ball. So what he has to do, he has to make impact with player and ball. So get Elliott and his opponent there. He has to come through.
He does neither.
Does nothing, and that ball should have been 10 rows back into the grandstand. He misses it. Didn't hit hard enough. You need to take bodies, the works.
So even run the risk of paying a free kick against you to at least make contact with Elliott at that moment.
But I think he was got there quick enough to hit ball, hit player. Wouldn't have been a free kick. Just got it horribly wrong, got his timing wrong.
Look, this club has become blockbuster in a matter of 9-10 weeks, hasn't it? It's like the Hollywood script where the stopwatch is set down to 0, the bomb's going to go off when the time expires, and they somehow get the job done every time. Look at some of the heroics from people in the last quarter, Lordo. We look at the score there. They've got to 21 points down with 12 and a half minutes remaining. Jack Crisp, I mean, what a player he is, what a performance. Some stuff's not working, but he's trying to do something to change the flow.
And a beautiful kick from a ruckman, Cameron. That is weighted beautifully. But Crisp's one of the most underrated players in the comp. Carmichael, he just came on, What a clutch kick that was. Yeah, see Pendlebury. He's been amazing in late games this year. He just keeps finding a way and relaxes them. Johnson, a young kid, just a beautiful spot up, didn't panic. So Elliott out in front, players slipping over. It was just chaos late in the game. Brilliant tackle there from Myercheck as a key forward. And then obviously, again, Scotty Pendlebury, just the poise.
But again, to go to Carmichael in that moment, he's an equal to those stars out there, Carmichael. Look at this kick. I mean, look at the crunch moment he just sees. 2 goals in the last quarter. Ash Johnson, another a mid-season draft player, kicking 3 goals in the first quarter. They're all equals, aren't they? While they've got some big names still.
You do need a bit of luck, like the Harrison Jones miss in this, but it's now they're 8-1 in tight games. It's not pure fluke because you can't keep doing it. They would train a lot for the last couple of minutes. Scotty Pendlebury, the key in how poised he is late in games.
They were 21 points down, as you saw a moment ago. They were 37 up in the first quarter, and it was on the back of this style of vibrancy. Now, look at this, Lordo. Josh Dacos, handball to himself, takes on Hind with a basketball tap, couple of bounces. Don't worry about centering it. And he celebrates before the ball even goes through.
Bums on seats, like he and his brother. And I don't like talking about Nick because Josh is a star in his own right. But they are going to bring tens of thousands through the gates.
I want to celebrate this too. The coach, McRae, who's crucial to everything that's going on, just celebrating that moment with Josh. It's all part of the mix, isn't it?
It's a special environment and culture they've got going there at Collingwood. Yeah, it's an inspired move, that selection of Craig McRae.
Yep. Saturday night, Western Bulldogs and Melbourne got to go at it again, and there was scenes reminiscent of what happened in the grand final by way of the Melbourne dominance out of the centre clearances, which seemed to establish a good lead for Melbourne, which we thought they're going to keep.
Hey, they won the game, the Bulldogs, but this is a massive, massive concern for them, the way they get done over. So it's called a sweeper. So the player that stands at the back of the stoppage, so players can't come charging through. And Melbourne killed them there in the grand final, and they got another 6 goals from this area. So it's an issue for them while they got away with the game, but we're about to show the inspirational leader that Marcus Bontempelli is and how he turned the game in this area late in it. But it is an issue. The Swans got them there only weeks ago in that department as well. So as good a midfielder as they are, they've got to look at their system.
It arguably makes even more meritorious what they did do by way of retrieving that deficit and leading. And leading is a word always associated with their captain, Marcus Bontempelli. Lordo, he's been banged up this year, and he won't admit that. And sorry, he won't publicly want to say that. But look at this tackle on Viney. Look at the scores. Look at the time of the game. That's the sort of stuff he does. He lays another tackle soon, you're about to see, again late in the game, with his team needing him to do it, against Max Gawn, who was about to surge Melbourne forward. It's those things that make him as crucial and as special to anyone attached to the Bulldogs as the skill that he's clearly got.
Yeah, touched on Pendlebury earlier. Marcus Bontempelli, his last fortnight has been outstanding for the Bulldogs, and it's why he's the captain of the club.
Yep. There was a breakout moment for Jamara Ugle-Hagan, wasn't it? His 17th game of footy, Lordo, been, again, seizing moments. Look at that shot with the time ticking away for him to kick his 5th goal of the game. He'd done enough already to probably be the best player on the ground. He just, I think, franked it with that moment. And it was a great moment within a great game for him. Yeah,
it's good to see why he was taken number 1 in the draft, because he's just that's what he did as a junior footballer. He kicked 5 or 6 in a grand final for the Oakley Chargers. So, yeah, just a wonderful footballer, and we're going to see a lot of excitement. He'll sit on heads. He can do a lot of things, Jamara, which we'll see over the next 10 years.
Now, again, that's the highlights of him, and that's what we like to see, I think, as the outsiders. But the club itself, Lordo, they've worked with him. Now, let's have another look at some more exclusive AFL.com.au vision down the ground at the work rate that is clearly now as key to anything that the Bulldogs are about with Jamara Ugle-Hagan.
You talk about tricks. You can't be a one-lead player. So Jamara has just turned that defensive player for Melbourne inside out. You watch this one. He's running back towards goal, spins straight back, and he's lost his Melbourne opponent. So he's doing things now after like 20 or 30 games that you don't do in your first 5 or 6. Now he's making it hard for his Tomlinson on him. Sheer speed there, can't go with him. So that's where he's a tricky matchup.
Are you liking what you're seeing there?
Yeah, I saw it last week. I saw some great things without Aaron Norton playing in the side against the Saints. And I reckon that confidence has gone on to this week's game as well, last week's game as well.
And again, Josh Bruce, Slaughter, has been back for the 2 games that he's had by way of his best for his career. 3 last week, 5 this week, Jamara Ugle-Hagan. Josh Bruce is effectively not touching the ball, but he's taking the second best opponent. It's crucial to what Jamara Ugle-Hagan's been able to do.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting decision. They go down to Geelong to play the Cats. If Bruce has another game of under 5 disposals, they'll have a decision to make on whether to keep him in the side.
And maybe bring Sam Darcy in for have a look?
Yeah, or potentially someone else, yeah.
OK. This is how it looks, the ladder, after round 19. That we've at least eliminated it down to 10 in terms of teams that can get into the 8. We'll have a look at the Bulldogs run home as you have this chat, Lotto, but who is going to get 8 spot?
I think the Doggies, I think they can beat the Dockers at home, but also they win their last 2 games. So I think the Doggies make it, ahead of Richmond. That Richmond draw was a heartbreak for them, and I think they're a better side than the Saints.
And ahead of St Kilda as well, who did what they had to do yesterday by way of beating West Coast in Perth. They're on their last chance, a lot of the players, and that's the quote from the coach, Brett Ratton, Lordo, but their better players stood up and they kicked the 4 goals to 1 in the last quarter to get the job done. And sometimes you just have to grind one out, don't you?
Well done to the Saints. Under a lot of pressure during the week, we saw Brett Ratton have that discussion with his players after the game. Jack Steele is their best player by a long, long way. He was inspirational yesterday, and their midfielders, Crouch, Ross, Steele, and good to see Butler. Butler hasn't been the player at St Kilda that he was in the first season. He kicked 5 goals, a career high for Butler, which was outstanding.
And a great role by Marcus Windhager, who's got some tricks, some genuine tricks, playing a run-with role and totally stymieing Tim Kelly out of the game.
Yeah, that's the positive for St Kilda. Machito Owens and Windhager, some good young kids coming through.
Yep. Carlton did similarly to St Kilda in just getting the job done against GWS. It was a grind again in the first half, and then, no surprise, that man stood up and just broke the game open with acts like that, just almost out of nowhere, Lordo. Have a look at this term. This is a mark that not many people, in fact, no one else would take. And then look at the weighting of this kick to his forward teammate there in Mackay.
They just, it's good for Carlton. So they've come from nowhere a little bit too, been building, but just find ways to win. They're just not quite there against the best sides, but they're winning all the games they need to win to consolidate a final for themselves. It's going to be huge. The Carlton fans, if they can get a game at the MCG, I can imagine what the crowd's going to be like in a month's time.
And they've had to weather injuries all year, and yet we get to this latey stage of the season, and they're looking okay on that front. There's a strong thought, Lordo. They'll bring Pitnet back in to ruck, and that will add another dimension to them, and Hewitt's fit to go again.
Yeah, Pitnet and DeConing can work together, send Silvani back into the forward line. It's pretty exciting.
On his day, I don't think there's anyone cleaner by way of ball use than Adam Sard, Lordo, and he had one of his great days yesterday.
These are some of the great highlights you're ever going to see from an individual. So you've got the foot skills. You do not get a better delivery than this. Mackay, he's saying thank you, just get the ball in his hands. This is unbelievable because he runs hard all day long. And
those kicks.
And he's been doing it all year. So sometimes it takes longer for you to be noticed from an All-Australian perspective, but he'd have to be right up there.
And then has he got Mark here as well?
So, best man on the ground, outstanding performance from Sard. Yep. He's done it all year, though.
All-Australian?
Yeah. Well, it's hard. There's so many good half-backs. It's a tricky one. But
there's one on his own team, Sam Doherty, who's been in the same conversation.
Dale, Brayshaw, a lot of good players.
Sinclair.
But I'd have him in there, yes.
You would?
Yes.
Yeah. Mitch McGovern is returning, Lordo, after missing a lot of footy with another injury. But the intercept mark component to his game is going to be crucial. There were 4 of those types of marks yesterday. He's got some presence. He's going to be a point of difference for whatever lies ahead for the Blues. He's crucial.
He is. I watched them in the loss against Geelong, and they lost. I think Young just wasn't up to it with Jeremy Cameron. You've got Tommy Hawkins back there with Wiedering. So this could be the key to them going further in the finals, not just winning 1, but maybe winning 2, McGovern being injury-free from this point on. Yep.
Cats have broken away from the pack. They're a game clear on top of the ladder. They are so methodical, Lotto. They're no fuss. They are efficient, and they've got so many avenues toward goal.
Yeah, we just wanted to highlight that they're the number 1 ranked side in so many areas going in. The toughest kick is the last kick inside forward 50, but they're the best at it. So they're the number 1 team going inside 50. They're the number 1 for efficiency, having players take marks inside 50. We just wanted to show all the different ways they can score. So it might be Hawkins hitting up, Cameron hitting up, or even this one out the back. So you love this kick, I know, Damon, just how smart they are.
Look at the weighting of that kick.
They're just in sync with each other more so than any other team in the comp.
Yeah. And then no surprise ends up with Hawkins, who kicked the last 2 goals of the game. Look, this is interesting when you look at, as you said, the efficiency and their avenues and ways to goal. No club's got the weapons they've got, and those numbers show why.
And this is where Melbourne are a long, long way off Geelong, because they'd be a long way down in those numbers.
Yep. Yeah. John Segler is going to get a chance, Lordo, the former Hawthorn player in the ruck, given that Reece Stanley's got a knee injury that we think, as we speak, will keep him out of some footy. And even if he's right to go, there was a strong thought that the Cats wanted to play Segler at some stage late. So we're going to get to see how that looks.
Might be the Clark Keating of 2022. He used to come in late for the Brisbane Lions. Yeah, it might be Segler's year this year.
Yep. Yeah. Stuart, you had some interesting comments, Lordo, coach of the Gold Coast Suns, about the treatment of his player Isaac Rankin. It's specifically focused on Brandon Starcevic. We'll take a look at the incidents in a moment, but this is what he said post-game.
Just going to have to get some clarity from how he's getting played at stoppages. That, to my eye, I think Isaac's looking at the ball. Just need to get clarity on how he's defended, and is that if that's open slather, then we can work out what we're dealing with. And we can talk to Sean Lemons and those type of guys to defend stoppages similar.
Now, Starcevic had the breakout season by his own form last year, and he's a crucial part of what lies ahead for the Lions. Now, Lordo, let's just take a look. Tell me what you make of this. I don't know what you're about to say, but is he doing anything untoward here? They're just isolated examples.
I think Stewie Jews, I've got no issue with that one from start. Jake Kelly got Rankin the week before, but if you're taking your eyes off the ball and you're not giving him a run at the footy, so that's not too bad either. But I think the last one, I'd have some concerns when you are just not even looking at the football,
right,
and you turn your back on it. As long as there's no pulling of the jumper, I think it's not too bad. So that's what the umpires are going to watch. And I think Stewie Jew's been smart putting it on the agenda. There might be a tug of the jumper where they're not allowing him to run and get at the footy.
So the moment he's taking his eyes off the
there's
context.
no rule that you can't. So I think there's nothing too bad in there. I think Fragan would be saying that is the perfect role of a defender.
Yep.
But, so it's pretty good there from Star. So there wasn't too much wrong with it. But, they've got to be careful with the eyes off the footy.
Yep. That game has produced this week's Brave Play of the Week, thanks to Crypto.com. It's in the form of Elijah Hollands, Lordo, who basically 2 years after he was drafted at pick number 7 in the 2020 draft, got to play his first game of football. He came into the system with an ACL. They've long loved how he goes about it, and we're going to get to see it regularly now. 591
days it's been since he was drafted to be able to play his first game of footy. He's a star. They took him pick 7 for a reason. And another good pre-season. He should have a great year next season.
2 goals and 10 disposals. It's a good show.
I've watched him through junior footy. He's absolutely elite.
Yep. Swans are on what could be a compelling roll, Lordo, all the way potentially to a grand final. There's so many avenues to go. What are you highlighting here?
Just Heaney and Warner just working for each other in that forward 50 stoppage. And normally you've got a far more dominant player, it might be a lesser player blocking for a dominant player, but they've got so many options. Tommy Papley, midfield forward. So I just wanted to go through Warner, Hayward, Heaney, Papley, Goulden. Just so many class players inside forward 50, and Parker sometimes too. You don't know where to look. How damaging they are in that forward 50.
There's options
everywhere.
There. Yeah.
And they're building nicely into this final series. Yeah.
As is Nick Blakey, Lordo. The secret's long been out on him, but have a look at some of the desperation here and the way he can read the ball in the role that he's playing this year off a half-back flank. I mean, he could still be any form of player you want, but look at the score here. The Swans have done enough, doing it nicely, but he doesn't think that. He's just desperate to knock that ball out of his opponent's hands.
So we wanted to highlight what he can do, taking speckies, but then he's got the hardness to him. So he's got the real... so some half-back flankers are all about attack. Nick Blakey can do it both. He can be aggressive, stopping a man, and also chasing and tackling, but also be very damaging by foot as well.
We'll go back to the 2019 National Carnival, Lordo, and just show you a kick by a then young player by the name of Hayden Young. Now, look at the score, look at the moment, and look at the risk that he took in going inboard at that particular point in time. He drills that past his teammate. A goal comes out of it. They go in front. They lose the game. But, Lordo, I just wanted to raise that to show you this man has long had those skills, Hayden Young, and he's now doing it at the highest level for the Dockers. And he was, I think, anyway, and I think a lot of other people thought, the best player on the ground in that draw the Dockers had against the Tigers.
Yeah, he was best man on the ground, and we just wanted to show you what he did against Richmond. And all those moments we saw, playing for Vic Country back years ago, he's now doing at AFL level. He did it in different ways, though. I didn't realise just how good a mark Hayden Young was. So by foot, we all know he was drafted top 10 for this because he was the most elite half-back flank kick and running player in the game. But now he's fast become Fremantle's best half-backer. So, and I just love this moment.
Yeah.
So game was tight, Richmond were coming, and he's just started doing things aerially and very, very tough. And the way he reads the play, so smart, Damo. As you said, clearly best on ground Friday night.
Only scratching the surface of where he could get to.
Yeah, definitely.
Hawks have had a reasonably good year, I think.
Yeah.
7 wins under the first year of coach of Sam Mitchell. Have a look at the best and fairest finish of last year for the Hawks, Lotto, and there's some sort of renowned, older style of players on that list. Dylan Moore being the one link with what we believe to be their best players of this year, and it's a good transition.
Yeah, good signs that it's not the senior veterans that are winning best and fairest, but this year it could come from anyone. Dylan Moore, John Newcombe would be massive chances. Mitch Lewis, top 5, we're suggesting. So, yeah, same wins, but the future's so much brighter.
You like them a whole lot more this year?
Hawthorn. Yeah, some will say I'm still not sure about their list, but they drafted so well last year. Connor McDonald, Josh Ward, a few others. They'll get in the draft early again this year.
Yep.
Yeah, Mitchell's done a great job.
Thanks as always,
Thanks,
Lotto. And thanks for watching Access All Areas. Stay with afl.com.au and the AFL Live app for all you need to know about the 2022 AFL season. We'll be back next week with more Access All Areas.